Let us begin by understanding the true nature of silence. Silence, my dear friends, is not merely the absence of sound. It is not a void or a lack of something. On the contrary, silence is a profound presence. It is the very foundation upon which all of creation rests. In the depths of silence, we find the infinite potential of all that is, was, and ever will be. It is in silence that we connect with our true selves, with the I Am presence that is the core of our being. When we choose to be silent, we are not retreating from the world. We are not hiding or avoiding our problems. Instead, we are tapping into the very source of all power, all wisdom, and all creation. We are aligning ourselves with the infinite intelligence that orchestrates the cosmos. In silence, we find our true voice, not the chattering of the ego, but the whisper of our divine nature. Now, let us consider what it means to act as if nothing bothers you. This, my friends, is not about denial or suppression of our feelings. It is not about pretending that challenges do not exist. Rather, it is about assuming a state of consciousness where we are truly unperturbed by the apparent conditions of the outer world. It is about recognizing that nothing external has the power to disturb our inner peace unless we give it that power. Remember, the outer world is but a reflection of your inner state. When you assume the state of being unbothered, you are declaring to the universe that you are in control of your reactions, your emotions, and your experience of life. You are affirming that you are the master of your destiny, not a victim of circumstances. This principle is beautifully illustrated in the story of the biblical Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel, faced with certain death, remained calm and untroubled. He did not fight against his circumstances, nor did he plead for his life. Instead, he maintained his faith and his inner peace. And in doing so, he changed the very nature of his reality. The lions, which should have devoured him, became as harmless as house cats in his presence. This, my dear listeners, is the power that lies within you. When you cultivate inner silence and assume the state of being unbothered, you too can transform the very nature of your reality. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable become opportunities for growth. The people who once irritated you become teachers and catalysts for your evolution. The circumstances that once troubled you become stepping stones on your path to greatness. But how? You might ask. Do we achieve this state of inner silence and unperturbedness? The answer, as always, lies in the power of your wonderful human imagination. Your imagination is the gateway to the realm of infinite possibilities. It is through your imagination that you can experience any state of consciousness you desire. I invite you now to close your eyes and imagine yourself as a vast, calm ocean. On the surface, waves may rise and fall, storms may come and go, but in the depths there is only profound peace and stillness. This is your true nature. The disturbances on the surface, the challenges, the irritations, the apparent problems of life, they are but temporary ripples on the vast expanse of your being. Feel yourself as this ocean. Feel the immense power and peace that lies within you. Know that no matter what's on the surface, your depths remain undisturbed, serene, and full of potential. This is the state of consciousness we aim to cultivate and maintain. Now open your eyes and carry this feeling with you. As you go about your day, practice being this vast ocean. When challenges arise, when people or circumstances threaten to disturb your peace, remember your true nature. Remain silent, not out of fear or avoidance, but out of a deep knowing that nothing can truly disturb your inner calm. This practice, my friends, is not about passivity. It is not about allowing others to walk all over you or ignoring genuine injustices in the world. Rather, it is about responding to life from a place of centered power rather than reactivity. It is about choosing your battles wisely and recognizing that most of the things that seem to bother us are, in truth, inconsequential in the grand scheme of our eternal being. When you master the art of being silent and acting, as if nothing bothers you, you become a force of nature. You become like the eye of a hurricane, calm, centered, and powerful amidst the storms of life. From this state, you can take inspired action when necessary, speak words of power when needed, and create change in your world with grace and ease. Consider for a moment the great spiritual teachers and leaders throughout history. Think of Buddha, of Jesus, of Gandhi. These were not weak or passive individuals. They were not doormats that allowed life to walk all over them. On the contrary, they were immensely powerful beings who changed the course of history. And yet they all practiced the art of inner silence and remaining unperturbed in the face of great challenges. Jesus, when faced with accusations and threats, often remained silent. His silence was not weakness, but a demonstration of his unshakable connection to his divine nature. Buddha, under the Bodhi tree, remained unmoved by the temptations and threats of Marahis. Stillness was the key to his enlightenment. Gandhi, in the face of great oppression and violence, maintained a state of inner peace that gave him the strength to lead him with strength. You, my dear friends, have this same power within you. You are cut from the same divine cloth as these great beings. The only difference is that they fully realized and embodied their true nature, while most of us are still in the process of awakening to our divine potential. As you practice being silent and acting as if nothing bothers you, you will begin to notice profound changes in your life. First and foremost, you will experience a deep sense of peace and well-being that is not dependent on external circumstances. This inner peace is your birthright. And as you claim it, you will find that it becomes your constant companion, supporting you through all of life's ups and downs. Secondly, you will notice that your relationships begin to transform. When you no longer react to every little irritation, when you maintain your inner calm in the face of other storms, you become a stabilizing force in your relationships. People will be naturally drawn to your peaceful presence. Conflicts that once seemed insurmountable will begin to resolve themselves effortlessly. Think about it. How many arguments, how many conflicts in your life have been exacerbated by your reactive responses? How often have you added fuel to the fire of a disagreement by allowing yourself to be provoked into anger or defensiveness? When you master the art of silence and non-reaction, you remove the fuel that keeps these conflicts burning. You create space for understanding, for compassion, for resolution. Thirdly, you will find that your ability to manifest your desires increases dramatically. Remember, it is your state of consciousness that creates your realities. When you maintain a state of calm, centered power, you align yourself with the creative forces of the universe. Your thoughts and intentions become more focused, more powerful. You no longer waste energy on worry, on stress, on pointless conflicts. Instead, all of your energy is channeled into the creation of your desired reality. Imagine yourself as a radio transmitter. When you are constantly reacting to every little disturbance, your signal is fuzzy, filled with static. The universe cannot clearly receive your broadcast, but when you maintain inner silence and calm, your signal becomes crystal clear. The universe can then respond with perfect clarity, bringing into your experience the exact matches to your inner state. Now I want to address a common misconception about this practice. Some may think that being silent and acting as if nothing bothers you means becoming emotionless or detached from life. Nothing could be further from the truth. This practice is not about suppressing your emotions or denying your human experience. It's about transcending the limited, reactive ego self and operating from your higher divine self. From this higher state of consciousness, you actually become more fully alive, more present, more engaged with life. You experience emotions more deeply, but you are not controlled by them. You acknowledge challenges, but you are not defined by them. You participate fully in the dance of life, but you do so from a place of choice rather than compulsion. Think of it like this. When you're watching a movie, you can become fully engrossed in the story, feeling joy, sadness, excitement, and fear along with the characters. But at the same time, there's a part of you that knows it's just a movie. This knowing doesn't diminish your enjoyment of the film. On the contrary, it allows you to fully immerse yourself in the experience without being overwhelmed by it. In the same way, when you master the art of inner silence and non-reaction, you can fully participate in the movie of your life. You can experience all the joys, challenges, and adventures that life has to offer, but you do so from a place of centered awareness, always connected to your true, unchanging self. This state of being is what the ancient yogis called witnessing consciousness. It's the ability to be fully present and engaged in life while simultaneously maintaining a sense of detached observation. From this state, you can navigate life's challenges with grace and ease, making choices from a place of wisdom and reactivity. Now, let's explore some practical ways to cultivate this state of inner silence and non-reaction in your daily life. The first and most powerful tool at your disposal is, as always, your imagination. Each day, take some time to imagine yourself as that vast, calm ocean we discussed earlier. Feel the immense peace and power that is your true nature. As you go about your day, carry this feeling with you. When challenges arise, return to this image and this feeling. Another powerful practice is mindful breathing. Your breath is a constant reminder of your connection to the infinite. When you find yourself becoming reactive or disturbed, turn your attention to your breath. Take slow, deep breaths, feeling the calm that naturally arises as you do so. With each inhale, imagine you're drawing in peace and power. With each exhale, release any tension or reactivity. You can also practice what I call the pause. Whenever you feel triggered or bothered by something, pause before reacting. In that pause, ask yourself, is this really worth disturbing my peace? How would my highest self respond to this situation? This simple practice can prevent countless unnecessary conflicts and keep you aligned with your true, unbothered state. Another powerful technique is to practice seeing the divine in all things and all people. When someone irritates you, instead of reacting to their behavior, try to see the divine spark within them. Remember that they, like you, are a perfect expression of God, even if they're not fully aware of it yet. This shift in perception can transform your relationships and your entire experience of life. Now I want to address a question that may be arising in some of your minds. You might be thinking, but Neville, surely there are times when we need to speak up, when we need to take action against injustice or wrongdoing. And you are absolutely right. The art of being silent and acting as if nothing bothers you is not about becoming a passive observer of life. It's about choosing your responses wisely and acting from a place of centered power rather than reactivity. When you master this art, you'll find that you become more effective in creating positive change in the world. Your words, when you choose to speak, will carry more weight because they come from a place of inner silence and wisdom. Your actions, when you choose to act, will be more impactful because they're not clouded by emotional reactivity. Think of the great change makers in history. Martin Luther King Jr., for example, faced immense opposition and violence. Yet he maintained an inner calm and responded to hatred with love. His power came not from angry reactivity, but from a deep, unshakable connection to his highest self and his divine purpose. You too have this power within you. As you practice being silent and acting as if nothing bothers you, you're not retreating from the world. You're preparing yourself to engage with the world in a more powerful and effective way. Now, let's delve deeper into the transformative power of this practice. When you consistently maintain inner silence and act as if nothing bothers you, you begin to shift the very fabric of your reality. Remember, the outer world is a reflection of your inner state. As you cultivate inner peace and non-reactivity, you'll notice that your external circumstances begin to align with this new state of being. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable will begin to resolve themselves. People who once irritated you will either change their behavior or naturally fade from your experience. Opportunities that align with your highest good will present themselves with increasing frequency. It's as if the universe conspires to support your new state of being. This is not magic or wishful thinking. This is the law of consciousness in action. You are literally reshaping your world by reshaping your consciousness. As you persist in this new state, you'll find that maintaining inner peace becomes easier and more natural. What once required conscious effort will become your default state of being. Imagine for a moment a life where you're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. A life where you're no longer tossed about by the storms of emotion and reactivity. A life where you navigate challenges with grace and ease, always connected to your inner source of peace and power. This is the life that awaits you as you master the art of being silent and acting as if nothing bothers you. But remember, my dear friends, this is not a destination to be reached. It's a journey, a continuous unfolding of your divine nature. There will be times when you falter, when you momentarily forget your true nature and get caught up in reactivity. When this happens, be gentle with yourself. Remember that even these moments of forgetting are part of your journey. They are opportunities to practice returning to your center, to your true unbothered state. As you continue on this journey, you'll find that your influence on the world around you begins to change. You become a calm center in the midst of chaos, a source of peace in a world of turmoil. People will naturally be drawn to your presence, seeking the peace and stability that you embody. You become like a tuning fork, silently resonating at the frequency of peace and non-reactivity. Those around you will naturally begin to attune themselves to your frequency. Without saying a word, without taking any overt action, you begin to transform the world around you simply by being who you truly are. This, my friends, is the true power of being silent and acting as if nothing bothers you. It's not about passivity or avoidance. It's about embodying your highest self, your true divine nature, and allowing that embodiment to transform your world from the inside out. As we near the end of our exploration, I want to leave you with a powerful practice to help you integrate this teaching into your daily life. Each night before you go to sleep, take a few moments to review your day. But instead of focusing on what went wrong or what bothered you, imagine how your day would have unfolded if you had maintained perfect inner silence and acted as if nothing bothered you. See yourself navigating each situation from a place of calm, centered power. Feel the peace and ease that comes with this state. As you drift off to sleep, carry this feeling with you. Let it seep into your subconscious mind, reprogramming your default responses. Then, as you awake each morning, before you even open your eyes, remind yourself of your true nature. Feel yourself as that vast, calm ocean. Set the intention to carry this feeling with you throughout your day, no matter what arises. As you consistently practice this, you'll find that your waking life begins to align more and more with these imagined scenarios. You'll find yourself naturally responding to life's challenges from a place of peace and non-reactivity. You'll be living proof of the transformative power of consciousness. My dear friends, as we come to the close of our time together, I want to remind you of the immense power that lies within you. You are not small, limited beings at the mercy of a chaotic world. You are divine creators shaping your reality with every thought, every feeling, every state of consciousness you assume. The practice of being silent and acting as if nothing bothers you is not about denying your human experience or suppressing your emotions. It's about transcending the limitations of the ego and aligning with your true divine nature. It's about recognizing that your peace, your power, and your joy do not depend on external circumstances, but on your inner state of being. As you go forth from here, I encourage you to embrace this practice with all your heart. Let it become not just something you do, but who you are. Let the silence within you speak louder than the noise of the world. Let your unperturbedness become a beacon of peace in a world that so desperately needs it. Remember, you are the operant power in your world. Your consciousness creates your reality. As you master the art of inner silence and non-reactivity, you become a master creator, shaping your world with the power of your being. So go forth, my dear friends, and be the embodiment of peace in a world of chaos. Be the calm center in the midst of the storm. Be the living proof of the transformative power of consciousness. For in doing so, you not only transform your own life, but you contribute to the transformation of our entire world. Thank you. And may your journey of self-discovery and self-mastery bring you to the full realization of your divine nature and the complete manifestation of your heart's desires. Imagine for a moment that there exists a parallel version of you, a version that has actualized all that you desire to be, to do, and to have. This version of you stands not in some distant realm, unreachable and separate, but exists here and now within the vast spectrum of your own consciousness. This parallel you is not a figment of imagination, but a living reality within the infinite states of your being. Now I ask you to listen closely, for this parallel version of you has a message of utmost importance, a message so profound, so transformative, that to avoid it would be to deny yourself the very essence of your divine nature. This message, my friends, is the key to unlocking the limitless potential that resides within you. The parallel you speaks of a fundamental truth, a truth that has been whispered by the sages throughout the ages, echoed in the corridors of time, and now stands before you demanding recognition. This truth is simple yet profound. You are the operant power in your world. Your consciousness, your imagination, is the very foundation upon which your reality is built. Let us delve deeper into this revelation. The parallel wants you to know that the world you perceive, the circumstances you find yourself in, the very fabric of your existence, is but an outward picture of your inner assumptions. Every experience, every encounter, every moment of your life is a reflection of the state of consciousness you occupy. Consider for a moment the implications of this truth. If your world is a mirror of your consciousness, then to change your world, you need only change your consciousness. The parallel you has mastered this art and now beckons you to do the same. It urges you to awaken to your true nature as the author of your life story. But how, you may ask, does one change their consciousness? The answer lies in the power of your imagination. Your imagination, far from being a mere faculty for daydreaming, is the very workshop wherein your world is fashioned. The parallel you understands this intimately and employs this knowledge with unwavering conviction. Imagine, if you will, a desire you hold dear. Perhaps it's a loving relationship, a fulfilling career, radiant health, or abundant wealth. Now, instead of yearning for this desire as something outside of yourself, something to be attained in some distant future, the parallel you invites you to assume the feeling of its fulfillment now. This, my friends, is the crux of the message, the secret that the parallel you wants you to embrace wholeheartedly. The art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is through this assumption, this living in the end, that you align yourself with the version of you that has already realized this desire. Let me illustrate this principle with a simple exercise. Close your eyes for a moment and think of something you deeply desire. Now, instead of contemplating how to achieve it, I want you to imagine how you would feel if this desire were already fulfilled. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, the deep sense of gratitude that would accompany its realization. Allow this feeling to permeate every fiber of your being. As you engage in this exercise, you are doing more than just visualizing. You are stepping into the consciousness of the parallel you who has already experienced the fulfillment of this desire. You are bridging the gap between your current state and the state of your wish fulfilled. The parallel wants you to know that this feeling, this assumption of the wish fulfilled, is the secret to manifestation. It is not about forcing change in the external world, but about changing your inner world, your state of consciousness. As you persist in this new state, the outer world has no choice but to conform to your inner assumptions. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, surely it can't be that simple. Surely there must be more to it than just imagining and feeling. And to this, the parallel responds with unwavering certainty. Yes, it is that simple. And yes, there is more to it. But that more is not what you might expect. The more is not about external action, though action will naturally flow from your changed state. The more is about persistence and faith. The parallel has mastered the art of unwavering faith in the reality of their imaginal acts. They understand that the outer world may not immediately reflect their inner change, but they refuse to be swayed by appearances. This, my dear friends, is where many falter on the path to manifesting their desires. They begin with enthusiasm, imagining their wish fulfilled, feeling the joy of its realization. But when the outer world doesn't immediately change, doubt creeps in. They begin to question, to waver, to lose faith in the power of their imagination. The parallel you wants you to know that this doubt, this wavering is the only thing standing between you and the realization of your desires. For you see, the outer world is a shadow, a reflection of past assumptions. It takes time for it to catch up to your new state of consciousness. During this time, which some call the Sabbath, your faith is tested. But the parallel you has unwavering faith. They know that what they have imagined and felt as real must inevitably express itself in their outer world. They do not question when or how their desire will manifest. They simply know that it must, for it is law. This law, my friends, is as certain as the law of gravity. Just as an object released from your hand must fall to the ground, so must your assumptions, persisted in, find expression in your outer world. The parallel you lives by this law and invites you to do the same. Now let us address another aspect of this profound message. The parallel you wants you to understand that time as you perceive it in your outer world does not exist in the realm of imagination. In your imagination, you can be, do, or have anything instantly. The parallel has learned to leverage this truth to transcend the limitations of time. When you imagine and feel your wish fulfilled, you are not projecting into some future moment. You are experiencing it now, in the eternal present of your imagination. This is why the feeling is so crucial. It anchors your imaginal act in the now, making it a present fact in your consciousness. The parallel you wants you to know that this principle applies to every aspect of your life. Whether you seek to change your financial situation, heal your body, transform your relationships, or achieve any other desire, the process is the same. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Persist in that assumption. And watch as your outer world reshapes itself to match your inner conviction. But there's more, my friends. The parallel wants you to understand that this power is not limited to personal desires. You have the ability, indeed the responsibility, to use this power for the betterment of all. For you see, as you change your consciousness, you change the collective consciousness of humanity. Imagine, if you will, a world where every individual understood and applied this principle. A world where each person took responsibility for their state of consciousness, knowing that it shapes not only their personal reality but contributes to the collective experience of all. This is the world that the parallel you inhabits, and it is the world they invite you to create. Now, I can sense that some of you may be feeling overwhelmed by the magnitude of this revelation. You may be thinking, but Neville, how can I possibly maintain this state of consciousness consistently? How can I have unwavering faith when the outer world seems to contradict my inner assumptions? To this, the parallel you offers a compassionate yet firm response. They want you to know that, like any skill, this too requires practice. Just as a musician must practice their instrument daily to master it, so must you practice the art of conscious assumption daily to master your world. Begin with small things. Assume a state of consciousness where parking spaces are always available to you. Feel the satisfaction of effortlessly finding a spot each time you need one. As you see this assumption manifest in your experience, your faith will grow. Then move on to bigger things, always remembering that, to your imagination, there is no difference between what you consider a small manifestation and a larger one. The parallel you also wants you to know that setbacks and doubts are part of the journey. There may be times when you falter, when the outer world seems too stubborn, too unyielding to your new assumptions. In these moments, the parallel urges you to be gentle with yourself, but persistent. Remember, the outer world is a reflection of your past assumptions. It may take time for it to fully align with your new state of consciousness. During this time, you may experience what seems like failure or setback. But the parallel wants you to know that these are not failures, but opportunities. Opportunities to strengthen your resolve, to deepen your understanding, to refine your ability to maintain your desired state, regardless of outer circumstances. This, my friends, is the true test of your faith. Can you persist in your assumption even when the outer world seems to deny it? Can you hold fast to the feeling of your wish fulfilled even when circumstances appear to be moving in the opposite direction? The parallel you has mastered this art and assures you that you can too. Now let us address another crucial aspect of this message. The parallel wants you to understand the true nature of your being. You are not a limited physical being striving to manifest desires in a solid, immovable world. You are consciousness itself, pure awareness, temporarily focusing its infinite potential into this particular experience you call your life. This understanding is paramount. For when you truly grasp that you are not your body, not your circumstances, not your past, but the very awareness in which all these appear, you liberate yourself from all limitations. The parallel lives from this understanding and invites you to do the same. From this perspective, your desires are not something to be achieved, but states to be occupied. The parallel wants you to know that every desire you have is already fulfilled in the infinite vastness of your consciousness. Your task is not to make it happen, but to align yourself with the version of you that is already experiencing it. This alignment happens through your feeling, your assumption. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are tuning yourself to the frequency of its reality. You are stepping into the shoes of the parallel you who's already living that desire. But there's more, my friends. The parallel wants you to understand that this principle extends beyond individual desires. It encompasses the very nature of your reality. Your entire world, every person, every circumstance, every event is a reflection of your state of consciousness. This may seem like an overwhelming responsibility, but the parallel assures you that it is also your greatest power. For if your world is a reflection of your consciousness, then by changing your consciousness, you change your world. not just in parts, but in its entirety. Imagine the implications of this truth. Every person in your life is playing a role that you have assigned them through your assumptions. Every circumstance, whether perceived as positive or negative, is a manifestation of your inner state. The parallel lives with this awareness and invites you to awaken to it. Now, this doesn't mean that others don't have free will or that you are somehow controlling them. Rather, it means that your experience of others, your perception of their behavior towards you, is a reflection of your assumptions about them and about yourself. The parallel wants you to know that this understanding is the key to transforming all your relationships. Instead of trying to change others, change your assumptions about them. Instead of reacting to their behavior, assume they are as you would like them to be. As you persist in this new assumption, you will be amazed at how your experience of them transforms. This principle applies not just to individuals, but to collective experiences as well. The state of your society, your nation, your world, is a reflection of collective consciousness. By changing your own consciousness, you contribute to shifting the collective. The parallel understands this and uses this knowledge to create positive change on a grand scale. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, if everything is a reflection of my consciousness, why would I ever choose to experience anything negative? This, my friends, is a profound question, and the answer reveals another layer of the parallel use message. You see, what you perceive as negative experiences are not punishments or failures, but opportunities for growth and expansion. They are calls to examine your consciousness, to uncover limiting beliefs and assumptions that may be operating beneath your conscious awareness. The parallel wants you to know that every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt or fear is an invitation to go deeper into yourself, to examine your assumptions, to expand your understanding of who you truly are. When you face a challenge, instead of seeing it as something to overcome in the outer world, see it as a signal to shift your inner world. Ask yourself, what assumption, what belief, what aspect of my consciousness is this situation reflecting? Then, instead of fighting against the outer circumstance, focus on shifting the inner state. This, my dear friends, is the art of living from the state of the wish fulfilled. It is not about ignoring or denying current circumstances, but about seeing through them to the truth of your being. It is about recognizing that your true power lies not in manipulating the outer world, but in commanding your inner world. The parallel has mastered this art. They do not waste energy fighting against unwanted circumstances. Instead, they invest their energy in assuming the state of consciousness that aligns with their desires. They know that as they maintain this state, the outer world must conform. Now let us delve even deeper into this profound message. The parallel wants you to understand that your imagination is not just a tool for manifesting desires, but the very substance of your reality. Your entire world, every aspect of your experience, is imagination made visible. This understanding revolutionizes your approach to life. Instead of seeing your imagination as something separate from reality, something to be used to change reality, you begin to see that it is reality. Your physical senses show you a world that seems solid and unchanging. But your imagination reveals the fluid, malleable nature of existence. The parallel lives from this understanding. They know that what appears to be fixed circumstances are really just solidified imagination. And just as they were created by imagination, they can be changed by imagination. This is why the parallel places such emphasis on the feeling, the assumption of the wish fulfilled. For in that feeling, in that assumption, lies the seed of a new reality. As you water that seed with your attention, as you nurture it with your unwavering faith, it grows into your new experience. But there's more, my friends. The parallel wants you to know that this principle extends beyond the manifestation of specific desires. It encompasses the very nature of your identity. Who you believe yourself to be, your self-concept, is the most fundamental assumption shaping your reality. The parallel you has recognized this truth and has consciously chosen their self-concept. They see themselves as a divine being, as pure consciousness, temporarily focusing its infinite potential into this particular human experience. From this self-concept flows all their experiences, all their manifestations. Now I invite you to examine your own self-concept. Who do you believe yourself to be? What assumptions do you hold about your capabilities, your worth, your place in the world? The parallel wants you to know that these assumptions are not fixed truths, but choices that you can change at any moment. Imagine for a moment that you could choose any self-concept. Who would you choose to be? What qualities would you embody? What capabilities would you possess? The parallel urges you to make this choice consciously, to assume the self-concept of the person who already has all that you desire. This, my friends, is the ultimate use of your imagination. By consciously assuming a new self-concept, you set in motion a complete transformation of your world. For your outer world can only reflect what you hold to be true about yourself. Now, I can sense that some of you may be feeling overwhelmed by the magnitude of this responsibility. You may be thinking, but Neville, how can I possibly monitor and control all my assumptions? How can I maintain this new self-concept consistently? To this, the parallel offers a compassionate reminder. You are already doing this every moment of every day. Every assumption you hold, every belief you maintain is shaping your reality right now. The only difference is that most of this is happening unconsciously. The invitation is to bring this process into your conscious awareness, to take deliberate control of your assumptions. Start with your fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality. The parallel wants you to know that the world is not happening to you, but from you. You are not a powerless observer in a random universe, but the very source of your universe. This shift in perspective changes everything. From this new vantage point, you begin to see every experience as a reflection of your consciousness. You no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances, but as the author of your life story. This is the perspective from which the parallel operates, and it is the perspective they invite you to adopt. But there's more to this message, my friends. The parallel wants you to understand that this power you possess comes with a profound responsibility. For as you awaken to your true nature as the operant power in your world, you also awaken to your connection to all of existence. You see, the consciousness that you are is not separate from the consciousness that animates all of life. It is one consciousness expressing itself in myriad forms. As you master the art of consciously shaping your reality, you simultaneously influence the collective reality we all share. This understanding leads to a natural state of compassion and love for all beings. For in recognizing your own divine nature, you recognize the divine in all. The parallel lives from this state of universal love and invites you to do the same. Imagine how your world would transform if you approached every interaction, every relationship, from this state of consciousness. Imagine seeing the divine in every person you meet, recognizing that their copyright charge response was limited as it hit the maximum length allowed at this time. Behavior is a reflection of their own state of consciousness. This perspective transforms your relationships, your interactions, and ultimately your entire world. The parallel wants you to know that this state of consciousness is not something to be achieved, but to be remembered. It is your natural state, obscured only by the veils of limiting beliefs and assumptions. As you peel away these veils through conscious assumption and unwavering faith, you return to your true nature. This journey of remembrance is not always easy. The parallel you acknowledges that there will be moments of doubt, times when the old patterns of thinking and feeling try to reassert themselves. In these moments, they urge you to be gentle with yourself, but persistent. Remember, my friends, that every moment is a new opportunity to choose your state of consciousness. If you find yourself slipping into old patterns, simply pause, take a breath, and consciously choose again. The parallel has mastered this art of constant vigilance and realignment, and assures you that with practice it becomes second nature. Now let us address a crucial aspect of this message. The parallel wants you to understand that this power you possess is not about controlling or manipulating the outer world. It is about aligning yourself with the infinite potential that you are. As you do this, you naturally attract experiences that resonate with your new state of being. This understanding liberates you from the need to micromanage every aspect of your life. Instead of trying to control every detail, you focus on maintaining the state of consciousness that aligns with your desires. The how, when, and where of manifestation are not your concern. Your only responsibility is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and to live from that state. The parallel lives in this state of effortless creation. They understand that the universe has infinite intelligence and will orchestrate the perfect unfolding of events to match their inner state. They trust in this process implicitly and invite you to cultivate the same trust. This trust, my friends, is the foundation of true faith. It is not blind belief, but a deep knowing based on your understanding of the law of consciousness. As you apply this law and see its results in your life, your faith grows stronger, creating a virtuous cycle of ever-expanding manifestation. But there's more to this message, my dear friends. The parallel wants you to understand that this principle of conscious creation extends beyond your individual life. It is the very mechanism by which the entire universe operates. Every star, every planet, every atom is a manifestation of consciousness. The same law that governs your personal reality governs the cosmos. As above, so below. As within, so without. This understanding reveals the profound unity of all existence and your integral role within it. From this perspective, you begin to see your life not as an isolated journey, but as part of the grand unfolding of universal consciousness. Your personal growth, your manifestations, your very existence contributes to the evolution of the whole. The parallel lives with this cosmic awareness. They understand that as they elevate their consciousness, they elevate the consciousness of all. As they manifest their desires, they expand the possibilities for all of existence. They invite you to embrace this grand perspective and to recognize the cosmic significance of your journey. Now, I can sense that some of you may be feeling a bit overwhelmed by the magnitude of this revelation. You may be thinking, but Neville, how can I possibly live up to this cosmic role? How can I bear the responsibility of shaping not just my reality, but contributing to the reality of all? To this, the parallel offers a loving reminder. You are already fulfilling this role, whether you are conscious of it or not. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption you hold is already shaping your reality and contributing to the collective. The invitation is simply to do consciously what you have been doing unconsciously. Start where you are. Begin with your immediate experience. Choose a small aspect of your life that you wish to change and apply the principle of conscious assumption. As you see the results, your confidence will grow, and you will naturally expand your application of this law. The parallel assures you that as you embark on this journey of conscious creation, you will discover resources within yourself that you never knew existed. Strengths will emerge, insights will dawn, synchronicities will multiply. The universe itself will seem to conspire to support your new way of being. But remember, my friends, that this journey is not about reaching a final destination. It is about continual expansion, endless exploration of the infinite potential that you are. The parallel you is not a static state to be achieved, but an ever-evolving expression of your divine nature. As you align yourself with this truth, you will find that your desires evolve as well. What once seemed like the ultimate goal becomes just a stepping stone to even greater expressions of your potential. This is the nature of consciousness, ever expanding, ever exploring, ever creating. The parallel wants you to know that this journey of conscious creation is the grandest adventure you can embark upon. It is a journey of self-discovery, of unlocking your infinite potential, of remembering your true divine nature. On this journey, you will encounter aspects of yourself that you never knew existed. You will uncover depths of wisdom, wells of strength, heights of joy that will astound you. You will come to know yourself as the infinite, eternal being that you truly are. But this journey is not just about personal expansion. As you elevate your consciousness, as you master the art of conscious creation, you become a beacon of light for others. Your very presence radiates the truth of infinite possibility, inspiring those around you to awaken to their own divine nature. The parallel understands this ripple effect and uses it consciously to contribute to the awakening of all of humanity. They invite you to do the same, to recognize that your personal journey of awakening is simultaneously a service to all of existence. Now, as we near the end of this message, I want to emphasize a crucial point. The parallel wants you to understand that this message, this invitation to conscious creation, is not something external to you. It is not coming from some separate, more evolved version of yourself. This message is arising from the depths of your own being. It is your own higher self, your own divine nature, calling you to remember who you truly are. The parallel is not separate from you, but is the fullest expression of your own potential, beckoning you to align with it. In every moment, with every breath, you have the opportunity to answer this call, to align yourself with the parallel you, to step into the full power of your divine nature, to assume the state of consciousness that matches your deepest desires. My dear friends, the choice is yours. The power is yours. The parallel you is not some distant ideal, but a living reality within you waiting to be expressed. Will you answer the call? Will you accept the invitation to live from the state of your wish fulfilled? Will you dare to be the God of your universe? Remember, the outer world may not immediately reflect your inner change. There may be moments of doubt, times when circumstances seem to contradict your new assumptions. In these moments, hold fast to your faith. Trust in the law of consciousness. Know that as you persist in your new state, your outer world must conform. The parallel has mastered this art of unwavering faith and invites you to do the same. They want you to know that every challenge is an opportunity, every setback a chance to deepen your understanding and strengthen your resolve. As you embark on this journey of conscious creation, be patient with yourself. Be gentle but persistent. Celebrate every success, no matter how small. Learn from every experience, knowing that even apparent failures are stepping stones to greater understanding. And above all, my dear friends, enjoy the journey. Revel in the joy of conscious creation. Delight in the unfolding of your infinite potential. For this is not a burden, but the greatest gift you can give yourself and the world. The parallel lives in this state of joyous creation and invites you to join them, to step into the full power of your divine nature, to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, to be the conscious creator of your reality. For in doing so, you not only transform your own life, but you contribute to the elevation of all of existence. You become a living testament to the infinite potential within each of us. You become the change you wish to see in the world. My dear friends, the time for hesitation is over. The time for doubt is past. Now is the moment to embrace your divine nature, to step into your power as the conscious creator of your reality. The parallel is not a distant ideal, but a living potential within you, waiting to be expressed. Will you answer the call? Will you accept the invitation to live from the state of your wish fulfilled? Will you dare to be the God of your universe? The choice is yours. The power is yours. The parallel you is you, in your highest expression, beckoning you to align with your true nature. Embrace this truth, live from this understanding, and watch as your world transforms in ways you never thought possible. Remember, my friends, you are not bound by your past, by your circumstances, or by the opinions of others. You are bound only by your assumptions about yourself and your world. Change these assumptions, and you change your reality. The parallel you has done this and invites you to do the same. They want you to know that this power is not something to be earned or achieved, but to be remembered and claimed. It is your birthright as a divine being having a human experience. As we conclude this message, I urge you to take a moment to reflect. Feel the truth of these words resonating within you. Allow yourself to expand into the knowing of your divine nature. Feel the limitless potential that resides within you. Now, my dear friends, go forth and create. Go forth and assume the state of your wish fulfilled. Go forth and be the God of your universe. For in doing so, you not only transform your own life, but you contribute to the elevation of all of existence. The parallel you is waiting, not in some distant realm, but within you here and now. Will you answer the call? Will you step into the full power of your divine nature? The choice is yours. The power is yours. The time is now. Remember, you are the operant power in your world. You are the author of your life story. You are the conscious creator of your reality. Embrace this truth. Live from this understanding and watch as miracles unfold in your life. Go now and be the parallel you. Be the highest expression of your divine nature. Be the conscious creator of your magnificent reality. For in doing so, you fulfill your highest purpose and contribute to the awakening of all of humanity. The parallel you has spoken. The message has been delivered. The invitation has been extended. The choice, as always, is yours. Choose wisely, choose consciously, choose lovingly. For as you choose, so shall your world be. And with that, my dear friends, I bid you farewell. But remember, this is not an ending, but a beginning. A beginning of a new way of being, a new way of creating, a new way of living. Embrace it fully, live it joyously, and watch as your world transforms in miraculous ways. The parallel you awaits. The power is yours. The time is now. Go forth and create the life of your dreams, for in doing so you fulfill your divine purpose and contribute to the elevation of all of existence.
Peace is not something to be found. It is something to be remembered. It is not earned through struggle or built by effort, but revealed through the quiet stillness of your inner world. Each man and woman is already equipped with the fullness of peace, but many have allowed noise to cloud it, fears to shrink it, and habits to delay its unfolding. What you persist in imagining, you bring forth. And if you are imagining restlessness, worry, regret, or comparison, those too will manifest as your world. You do not change the outer world to find peace. You withdraw your attention from the things that steal your breath, and you place it lovingly on what brings you home to yourself. There are things you must cease doing, not to earn peace, but to reveal it. For peace is your inheritance. And once you stop giving power to what disturbs you, peace will not only visit, it will stay. In this message, I will unfold for you 8 specific things you must stop doing to live peacefully. Not someday, but now. Let us begin with the understanding that your world, your life, and your peace are all formed by the assumptions you no longer question. Stop what must be stopped, and you will remember who you truly are. When the mind is caught in the endless loop of overthinking, it builds illusions that seem more real than the present moment. Overthinking is not a sign of intelligence, but of misdirected imagination. It disguises itself as preparation, as problem-solving, as care. But at its core, it is fear in motion. The overactive mind spins stories, rehearses conversations that never happened, replays events that cannot be changed, and forecasts disasters that rarely come true. It pulls your awareness away from now and throws it either into regret or anxiety. When you overthink, you are not living. You are merely observing the world through the lens of your doubts and insecurities. Every second of overthinking is a second lost in a reality that only exists in the mind. Imagination, when used deliberately, is a tool for creation. But when used carelessly, it becomes a weapon turned against the self. The more you overthink, the more disconnected you become from your own inner guidance. You begin to rely on mental noise rather than intuitive knowing. You analyze emotions instead of feeling them. You question your choices endlessly, fearing the outcome instead of trusting your ability to adapt and grow through whatever comes. And the tragedy is most people believe they are being responsible or wise by thinking everything through, when in truth they are feeding the very energy that makes them restless. The habit of overthinking is rooted in the illusion that you can think your way to safety. That if you just examine every detail, anticipate every problem, predict every possibility, you will avoid pain. But the soul does not move through life by prediction. It moves by alignment. Peace does not arise from knowing every answer, but from trusting the present moment and your ability to respond from within it. Overthinking interrupts this trust. It keeps you circling around the same mental patterns, never settling, never resting, always doubting, always waiting for a perfect certainty that never arrives. The mind is an incredible servant, but a terrible master. When it runs untamed, it magnifies fear, mistrust, and confusion. There is a deeper part of you that already knows what to do, how to feel, and when to move. But the voice of this deeper self is soft. It cannot compete with the loud mental chatter of overthinking. As long as you continue to give energy to every passing thought, you miss the still, clear direction that comes from silence. Overthinking scatters your focus. It divides your awareness between what if and if only, creating internal tension that reflects into your relationships, your work, your body, your decisions. You cannot be at peace when your mind is constantly arguing with what is, or obsessing over what could be. The more you overthink, the more you invite doubt to build a home within you. And wherever doubt lives, peace cannot. This pattern becomes especially dangerous when it seeps into your sense of identity. You begin to believe you are someone who always struggles to decide, someone who must evaluate every angle, someone who cannot rest unless every possible outcome is known. But that is not who you are. That is simply who you have trained your mind to be. And what has been learned can be unlearned. You were born with clarity, born with instinct, born with an inner compass that does not require mental acrobatics to function. The mind is meant to serve the heart, not replace it. When the heart speaks, the mind quiets. But when the mind shouts, the heart is ignored. Many overthink because they are afraid to feel. Thinking feels safer than feeling because it offers the illusion of control. But peace comes not from control, it comes from surrender. It comes from the willingness to feel what arises without needing to label it, judge it, or fix it. Overthinking delays healing by turning emotion into a puzzle instead of a passage. You do not need to think your way out of everything. Some things only resolve when you allow yourself to be present with them, to breathe through them, to stop resisting them with the blade of constant analysis. Even your dreams can be crushed by overthinking. You may have a vision in your heart, a desire placed there by something greater than yourself. And yet if you overanalyze every step toward it, you will talk yourself out of moving at all. The mind can come up with 1,000 reasons to wait, to hold back, to delay. But peace is found in movement, in trust, in faith. Overthinking is the thief of action. It paralyzes the soul and convinces the dreamer to stay asleep. You don't need all the answers. You only need a clear enough heart to take the next step. And that step will never come from thinking more. It will come from thinking less and trusting more. The world will mirror your inner state. If your thoughts are chaotic, life feels chaotic. If your thoughts are rigid, life feels heavy. But if your thoughts are calm, still, trusting, life softens. It meets you in your peace. Every time you silence an unnecessary thought, you reclaim a moment of life. Every time you resist the urge to overthink, you return to presence. Peace lives in presence. It is not found in the future you are trying to predict or the past you are trying to fix. It is here now, waiting beneath the layers of thought you no longer need to carry. The need for validation from others is one of the most silent destroyers of inner peace. It does not always announce itself boldly. Often it appears in small, subtle moments. The way you hesitate before speaking your truth. The way you scan faces for approval. The way you measure your worth by someone else's reaction. You begin to live not from your own center, but from the shifting reflections of how others see you. Their opinions become your compass. Their praise becomes your permission. And without even realizing it, you hand over the keys to your peace, your confidence, and your direction. When your sense of self is tethered to someone else's perception, you will always live with anxiety, because people's opinions are unstable. They change with moods, with misunderstandings, with their own wounds that have nothing to do with you. When you seek validation, you are outsourcing your power. You are saying, I cannot know who I am until you tell me. This creates a loop of dependency, where your emotional state rises and falls with the approval or disapproval of others. In this state, even your accomplishments feel empty unless they are witnessed, applauded, or admired. You begin to perform rather than live. You curate your life rather than experience it. The deep joy that comes from authenticity is traded for the shallow comfort of being liked. And the tragedy is, even when validation comes, it never truly satisfies. It only quiets the insecurity for a moment, then deepens the need for more. It's a thirst that grows the more you try to quench it from outside sources. This need is often rooted in old wounds. Perhaps there was a time when your voice was dismissed, when your worth was questioned, when love was given conditionally. These moments planted seeds of doubt that told you to be accepted, you must perform, please, adapt. Over time, you began to believe that being enough was not natural. It had to be earned. So you learned to scan others for clues. Was your voice too loud, your dream too bold, your opinion too different? And you adjusted, shrunk, stayed quiet, smiled when you didn't feel like smiling. But each time you did that, you moved further away from your true self. Seeking validation is not just about wanting to be liked. It's about forgetting that you already are enough, exactly as you are, with or without applause. When you live for validation, your peace is fragile. You walk through life like a mirror, reflecting everyone else's desires, never sure of your own. You begin to confuse people-pleasing with kindness, and self-abandonment with love. But real love cannot bloom in the soil of inauthenticity. When you are constantly bending to fit into someone else's mold, you lose the shape of your soul. And the cost is high. You feel unseen even when surrounded by people. You feel tired even when doing nothing. You feel anxious even when everything seems fine, because the deepest part of you knows you are not living from your truth. Peace comes when you no longer need to be understood in every moment. It comes when you stop performing and start embodying who you are, whether or not it's convenient for others. It comes when you remember that your worth is not a group project. Not everyone will approve of your choices. Not everyone will clap when you rise. And that's okay, because peace is not about universal agreement. It's about inner alignment. When you seek validation, you put your soul on trial and let the world decide its value. But when you release that need, you rise above judgment. You become your own source. You move with quiet confidence, not loud approval. You stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do I like myself in this moment? There is a strength that emerges when you stop waiting to be picked. You realize you were never meant to stand in line for acceptance. You were meant to walk in the full awareness of your value, and let those who see it come closer, and let those who don't keep walking. The world will always have something to say. Some will love your light, others will be threatened by it. But your job is not to dim or adjust that light for comfort. Your job is to let it shine without apology. The moment you stop seeking validation, you give yourself permission to grow, to fail, to create, to speak, to rest without needing a round of applause. There will be silence. There will be misunderstanding. There will be moments when your truth is too much for those who have built their lives around pretending. But in that silence, you will hear your own voice again. In that space of not being liked by all, you will find the peace that comes from being true. Validation is fleeting, but authenticity is forever. It grounds you. It nourishes you. It teaches you how to belong to yourself, first and fully. And in doing so, you create a life where peace is not a visitor, but a permanent resident. You become unshaken by noise, because you no longer need it. You have become your own echo, your own approval, your own validation. Holding on to the past is like trying to walk forward while dragging behind you a mountain made of shadows. It is one of the greatest barriers to peace, not because the past itself holds power, but because the mind continues to give it life long after it has passed. Events that have ended continue to replay like old films, and emotions that should have been felt and released are instead stored and carried. You relive the same moment through memory, hoping to understand it better, hoping to change it with thought, hoping that the weight will eventually lift on its own. But peace does not come through rethinking what was. Peace is found in allowing what was to rest. The past is no longer a living moment, but the more you invest your energy into it, the more it lives through you. It seeps into your choices, your expectations, your view of yourself and others. People hold on to the past for many reasons. Some believe that if they keep thinking about what happened, they will find closure or make sense of the pain. Others carry guilt, believing that punishing themselves through memory is some form of redemption. Some cannot forgive what was done to them, so they preserve the wound as proof that the pain was real. But the more you cling to what has already ended, the more you deny yourself the life that still waits to be lived. The present becomes blurred, your emotions become tangled, and your future becomes shaped by something that no longer has the right to define you. You begin to act not as who you are, but as a reflection of who you were when that pain occurred. Memories can serve as teachers, but they were never meant to be prisons. The mind often replays the past with the illusion that, through repetition, it will bring relief. Yet every replay deepens the imprint. It is like carving a groove in the soul that becomes harder to step out of. The brain is shaped by what it repeats, and so when you constantly revisit what hurt you, you are not healing, you are reinforcing. To live in peace, you must be willing to release what no longer supports your healing. You must be willing to step out of stories where you are always the victim, always the abandoned one, always the one who failed, always the one who was wronged. Those stories may hold truth, but they are not the full truth. You are more than the worst thing that ever happened to you. Forgiveness becomes essential in this release, not because others deserve it, but because you do. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other to suffer. It binds you emotionally to people and moments that have already taken enough. Forgiveness is not forgetting or excusing. It is choosing to no longer carry. It is reclaiming your energy from the past and giving it to the present, where it belongs. Sometimes the person who needs your forgiveness most is yourself. You may be punishing yourself for not knowing better, for not doing differently, for staying too long or leaving too soon. But the version of you that made those decisions did the best they could with what they knew. Judgment only hardens the past. Compassion softens it. Grief is another form of holding on. There are moments when letting go feels like betrayal. When someone you loved is no longer here, releasing your grip on the pain may feel like releasing your connection to them. But peace does not ask you to forget, it asks you to love differently. Not through suffering, but through memory held with softness. To honor what was, not by constantly mourning, but by living in a way that reflects the love they gave. When the past involves loss, the way forward is not to erase but to integrate, to carry the essence but not the ache, to transform the memory into a seed of growth, not a chain of sorrow. There is also a subtle way the past clings to your identity. You begin to see yourself only through past experiences, past mistakes, past labels. You say, "This is who I am, because this is what I went through." But the truth is, every moment offers rebirth. You are not required to be who you were. You can choose again. You can respond differently. You can rise from what happened, not be reduced by it. The past can be your story, but it does not have to be your script. When you let go, you do not erase what was. You simply stop allowing it to decide what will be. Living with peace means making peace with what was. It means recognizing that no amount of thinking can change what has already occurred. It means taking responsibility for your healing, even when you were not responsible for the harm. It means recognizing when a memory has become a weight, not a wisdom. And it means choosing to place your full presence in what is here now. Only in this moment can peace exist. Only in this moment can healing begin. And the more you return to it, the lighter the past becomes. Not because it didn't happen, but because it no longer controls you. Comparison is the thief of joy. Yet it remains one of the most common habits people unconsciously practice. The moment you begin to measure your life against someone else's, you separate yourself from peace. Peace does not compete. It does not rush or envy. It simply is. But comparison pulls you out of the present and places you in a false narrative that someone else is ahead while you are behind, that someone else has more while you have less, that someone else is worthy while you are not. This illusion grows when you focus more on appearance than reality, when you judge your insides against someone else's outside, not realizing that you are comparing your full story to a curated chapter of another's. What you see is rarely the whole truth, but the mind, once triggered by insecurity, imagines the rest with sharp judgment and harsh conclusions. When comparison becomes a lens through which you view your life, nothing ever feels enough. What once satisfied you begins to feel small. What once made you proud now seems insignificant. You stop noticing the quiet miracles in your journey, because your eyes are fixed on someone else's path. The heart grows anxious, not because you are lacking, but because you believe you should be somewhere else, someone else living a different version of your life. And yet, peace can never be found in becoming someone you're not. It lives in the full embrace of who you are, where you are, and what has been entrusted to you. People often compare their timing, thinking they are late, missing out, or falling behind. They forget that life unfolds uniquely for every soul, that some things take longer not because you are failing, but because you are being prepared for a greater depth. Comparison shortens your view, making you miss the vastness of your own becoming. You might look at someone else's success and wonder why it has not come for you, not realizing that what looks like success could be a weight they are struggling to carry, or that your waiting is a sacred delay meant to grow your character. Every soul blooms in its own season, but comparison blinds you to your season and tries to force you into someone else's harvest. Social media has only intensified this tendency. It offers endless windows into other people's lives, most of which are framed in perfection, filtered in beauty, and shared in selective highlights. You scroll through moments that look effortless, while living through moments that feel heavy. Without knowing it, you start to measure your worth by likes, your progress by others' timelines, your beauty by someone else's lighting. The mind becomes noisy with comparison, and the soul becomes restless. You forget that no one shows their full story, that behind every perfect image may be a struggle, a fear or a loss they do not post. But your heart feels the sting anyway, not because others are shining, but because you've forgotten how to honor your own light. Comparison can also damage relationships. It breeds quiet resentment, makes it hard to celebrate others, and sometimes causes you to withhold love from yourself and them. When you see someone thriving, instead of feeling inspired, you feel diminished. You forget that their rise does not mean your fall, that their blessing does not mean your lack, that their light does not dim yours. You were not created to be a copy, but a unique expression of the divine, with a voice, a rhythm, a journey that is unlike anyone else's. To compare is to insult your uniqueness, to suggest that what you've been given is somehow less meaningful than what someone else holds. The roots of comparison often lie in scarcity, this belief that there is not enough love, success, attention, or beauty to go around. But peace is found in abundance thinking, in knowing that what is for you cannot be taken by anyone else, and what belongs to another cannot fulfill you. When you truly understand this, you begin to celebrate others without questioning your own path. You start to live from fullness, not fear. You recognize that your journey may not look like theirs, but it is sacred all the same. And in that recognition you find peace, not from becoming more like them, but from becoming more fully yourself. Sometimes comparison comes dressed as motivation, as if envying someone will push you to grow. But true growth is never birthed from lack. It blooms from love, from clarity, from purpose. You do not need to be more like anyone else to find your purpose. You need only to deepen your connection to your own soul. When you measure your progress by your past instead of someone else's present, you begin to see how far you've truly come. When you track your growth based on your healing, your courage, your inner strength, not just visible achievements, you begin to see that you are exactly where you are meant to be. In moments of deep comparison, ask yourself whose voice you are listening to. Often it is not your own. It may be the voice of childhood insecurity, a societal standard, a parent's unmet expectations, or a world that defines value too narrowly. But peace invites you to return to your own voice, the one that knows your worth without condition, the one that whispers that you are already enough. When you stop comparing, you come back to yourself. You start to see the beauty of your journey without distortion. You begin to appreciate your timing, your growth, your blessings, and even your challenges with new eyes. Peace flows not from being ahead of others, but from being aligned with your truth. Negative self-talk is one of the most silent yet destructive forces within the human mind. It does not shout, but it speaks often, in whispers that echo loudly in your soul. These whispers may say you're not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not strong enough, not lovable enough. And because the voice is internal, it wears the mask of truth. It sounds familiar, like your own thoughts, so you rarely question it. But this voice, left unchecked, becomes the narrator of your life, coloring your perception with doubt, fear, and shame. It influences your decisions, your relationships, your dreams, and even how you treat your own body. You start living in agreement with lies you never consented to believe. This internal dialogue is often shaped by early experiences. Words spoken over you by parents, teachers, peers, or environments that judged rather than nurtured. A single harsh comment, a moment of public embarrassment, or constant criticism can become internalized and replayed for years. The brain records emotional pain vividly, and when repeated enough it becomes a script. You may begin to say things like, "I always mess up," "No one cares about me," or "I can't do anything right," not realizing that these statements are not reflections of who you are, but of who you've been told you are. These beliefs form mental barriers that limit your growth, your peace, and your potential. Negative self-talk not only damages your mental health, it corrodes your spirit. It creates internal friction, a kind of quiet war that rages beneath even your best days. You might smile outwardly, perform well, support others, and still feel unworthy because the inner voice is whispering the opposite. This voice questions your worth even in moments of joy. It downplays your accomplishments. It turns risks into dangers and opportunities into threats. When self-talk is negative, it becomes nearly impossible to feel truly present. You're always defending yourself from a part of yourself. It's exhausting, demoralizing, and often invisible to others, making it even more isolating. People often misunderstand the power of their words, especially the ones they speak internally. Thoughts repeated become beliefs, and beliefs create habits, and habits form identity. If you constantly call yourself stupid when you make a mistake, your mind will begin to associate errors with personal failure. If you tell yourself you're unlovable after a heartbreak, you may stop opening your heart. This kind of dialogue trains your nervous system to expect rejection, prepares your heart for disappointment, and teaches your mind to see danger where there is none. Over time, this becomes your emotional baseline. You live on edge, braced for failure, guarded against love, skeptical of joy. There's a deep transformative shift that happens when you begin to speak to yourself with the same gentleness you offer to a hurting friend. It does not mean pretending everything is perfect or denying your flaws. It means seeing those flaws with compassion rather than cruelty. It means saying, "I made a mistake, but I'm learning," instead of "I'm such a failure." It means acknowledging your pain without letting it define you. It means choosing to rewrite the script that plays on a loop in your mind, one phrase at a time. Words carry energy. They plant seeds, and what you speak to yourself will either grow thorns or flowers in your soul. The relationship you have with yourself is the foundation of every other relationship in your life. If you constantly criticize yourself, you may either become overly sensitive to others' opinions or completely numb to affection. You may struggle with boundaries, feel undeserving of kindness, or overcompensate to prove your worth. These patterns do not begin in other people, they begin in your own thoughts. Changing them requires more than positive affirmations. It requires conscious awareness, a willingness to notice when you're being harsh, and the courage to choose a gentler response. It's not weakness to speak kindly to yourself. It's one of the highest forms of self-respect. Negative self-talk also affects your body. The mind and body are deeply interconnected, and what you think about yourself influences how you carry yourself, how you breathe, how you sleep, even how you digest food. Stress from self-criticism releases cortisol, weakens your immune system, and drains your energy. You may begin to hold tension in your shoulders, clench your jaw, develop headaches, or suffer fatigue, not because of external circumstances, but because of the constant internal pressure. The body remembers what the mind repeats, and eventually it begins to reflect what you believe. Healing begins when the mind and body are spoken to with truth and kindness. Your self-talk shapes your vision for life. If you tell yourself you're not capable, you will resist opportunities. If you convince yourself you don't deserve love, you will sabotage relationships. If you declare that your voice doesn't matter, you will silence yourself in moments that could change your life. These aren't just thoughts. They are choices that shape your reality. To find peace, you must stop being your own enemy. You must stop entertaining thoughts that tear you down, that question your value, that label you with shame. It takes awareness, it takes repetition, and it takes grace. But the reward is freedom from the invisible prison of your own mind. Trying to control everything is an illusion rooted in fear, and it is one of the greatest enemies of inner peace. The need to control often comes from a desire to avoid pain, uncertainty, or disappointment. It stems from the mistaken belief that if you manage every detail, predict every outcome, and anticipate every possibility, you can avoid chaos or suffering. But life by its very nature is not meant to be controlled. It unfolds in its own rhythm, with its own intelligence, often in ways that the human mind cannot comprehend. And when you resist this natural flow, you create tension within yourself. The more you try to grasp, the more things slip through your fingers. The more you tighten your grip, the more exhausted you become, trying to manage what was never yours to manage. Control disguises itself as responsibility, as strength, as preparedness. But underneath it is often fear, fear of loss, fear of the unknown, fear of vulnerability. It is a self-protective mechanism that says, if I just hold it all together, I'll be safe. But that very effort to hold it all together keeps you from experiencing the deeper serenity that comes from surrender. Life is not asking you to abandon your dreams or become passive. It is asking you to participate with presence, not control with anxiety. When you trust that life holds a greater intelligence than your limited foresight, you begin to experience the peace of surrender, not defeat, not laziness, but surrender rooted in trust. Trying to control people, for example, is a common expression of inner turmoil. You may try to manage what they think, how they feel, what they say, or how they respond. But people are not projects. They are not puzzles you must solve or systems you must perfect. They have their own minds, their own paths, their own wounds. The more you try to control others, the more you suffocate relationships. It breeds resentment, not connection. It creates walls, not trust. True peace in relationships comes from acceptance, not agreement with everything they do, but the release of the need to dictate their every move. You can love someone deeply without trying to mold them into who you think they should be. Control also manifests in how you try to shape your image in the world. You monitor how you're perceived, what others might think, whether you're being liked, accepted, or validated. This mental surveillance is exhausting, and it pulls you away from authenticity. When you are always performing a version of yourself that feels acceptable, you rob yourself of the freedom to simply be. Peace cannot exist in performance. It lives in truth, in being okay with being misunderstood, in letting go of the need to constantly explain yourself or prove your worth. The moment you stop needing everyone's approval is the moment you begin to feel lightness in your soul. The future is another domain where control often takes root. You may find yourself overthinking every step, trying to plan life down to the minute, fearing what may or may not happen. This kind of mental living in the what-ifs becomes a trap. It pulls you away from the present and locks you in imagined outcomes that may never occur. The mind starts to create problems that don't exist yet, and you begin to feel anxiety over scenarios that are only in your imagination. You can prepare, you can be wise, but you cannot predict everything. Life may take unexpected turns, but peace lives in the ability to respond, not to preempt. It's found in resilience, not rigidity. There's also a spiritual cost to control. When you try to govern every area of your life, you leave little room for the divine to move. You stop listening, stop being still, stop receiving. Control says, I must do it all. Faith says, I trust the unfolding. When you try to force outcomes, you limit what's possible. Sometimes the path to peace is allowing what is beyond your understanding to reveal itself in its own timing. You are not meant to carry the weight of every outcome, every decision, every responsibility alone. There is a greater wisdom at work in the universe, one that sees what you cannot see, knows what you do not know, and holds what you cannot carry. Perfectionism is a form of control that often gets mistaken for excellence. But excellence inspires, while perfectionism paralyzes. When you aim to make everything flawless, you rob yourself of the joy of creation. You hesitate, delay, criticize, and punish yourself for every small error. You hold yourself to impossible standards and then feel unworthy when you inevitably fall short. But you were never meant to be flawless. You were meant to be real, to be growing, to be learning. The beauty of life is not in getting everything right, but in allowing space for mistakes, for grace, for progress. Control demands perfection. Peace allows for process. Trying to control your emotions is another subtle way peace is disturbed. You may believe that being strong means never feeling sad, never showing weakness, always holding it together. But strength is not found in suppression. It is found in honesty. Your emotions are not problems to fix, but messengers to understand. When you allow yourself to feel without judgment, you give those feelings permission to pass through you, rather than get stuck within you. Controlling your emotions may give you temporary composure, but only at the cost of long-term peace. Expression is healing. Feeling is freedom. It's not the presence of emotion that robs peace, but the refusal to feel it. Peace is not found in micromanaging life. It is found in aligning with it. When you release the constant need to manipulate outcomes, control others, perfect yourself, or predict the future, you open the door to a deeper kind of living. It's a life where your nervous system can rest, where your mind can breathe, where your heart can simply be. Holding on to past pain is like drinking poison and hoping it will heal you. It never does. It settles deep within, festering in quiet places of the heart, affecting your present without your awareness. Pain from the past can become so familiar that you begin to confuse it with identity. You say, this is just who I am now, not realizing that what you're really doing is carrying wounds that were meant to be acknowledged, honored, and then released. Instead, you tuck them away, build your life around them, and use them to filter every experience, relationship, and opportunity. Peace does not exist where the heart is still tethered to yesterday's storms. The soul craves freedom, but freedom cannot come while you are still kneeling at the grave of what hurt you. The mind, in its attempt to protect you, replays painful memories to help you avoid future harm. It reminds you of betrayal so you don't trust again. It echoes words of rejection so you don't risk vulnerability. It plays scenes of humiliation to keep you from stepping out. But in doing so, it traps you in cycles. It confuses awareness with fear, wisdom with paralysis. Healing requires the courage to face those memories not as enemies, but as evidence of what you've survived. When you stop running from the pain and meet it with compassion, you begin to rewrite your relationship with it. The memory may remain, but the hold it has over you begins to dissolve. Some people believe that letting go of pain means minimizing what happened, but it doesn't. Releasing pain is not denying the hurt. It's choosing not to be ruled by it. Forgiveness, both for others and for yourself, is not approval of the offense. It's a declaration that your peace matters more than your anger. Anger is valid. So is grief, disappointment, and rage. These emotions are not wrong. They are signals. But holding on to them indefinitely becomes a prison. When you grip pain too tightly, you create a false sense of control. You may say, if I let go, it means they won. Or if I forgive, I'll forget. Or if I move on, it'll happen again. These beliefs feel protective, but they are walls that block you from the healing that brings true inner peace. Sometimes the pain we hold is not just from what was done to us, but from what we did or failed to do. Regret is a heavy weight. You replay conversations you wish had gone differently. You dwell on opportunities you didn't take, relationships you didn't mend, mistakes you made when you didn't know better. But self-punishment is not redemption. It's a cycle. And no amount of inner punishment can change the past. What it can do is diminish your present, blind you to the beauty of who you've become since then. Growth doesn't always look graceful. Often it's messy. But even the mess holds wisdom. Even the wrong turn taught you something. Even the brokenness shaped your strength. The pain may have been part of the journey, but it is not the destination. Pain that is not processed often gets passed on. You begin to see it in your relationships, how you pull away from those who get too close, how you react with intensity to small triggers, how you trust too little or too quickly. Pain changes how you see the world. You may begin to expect hurt, to prepare for abandonment, to assume rejection, but what you're really doing is reliving the past in the present, projecting yesterday's wound onto today's people. This is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Healing is not about erasing the past. It's about reclaiming your power from it. You may not be able to rewrite what happened, but you can decide how it shapes you moving forward. Some wounds are generational. You may be carrying pain that didn't start with you. Patterns of silence, trauma, abandonment, shame that were passed down like invisible inheritance. You may be the first in your family to say, this stops with me. And that is no small task. It takes strength to face pain that has become normalized. It takes clarity to recognize what you've been conditioned to accept. But peace is a birthright, not a reward. You don't have to earn it by suffering longer. You simply have to be willing to stop carrying what no longer belongs to you. You don't have to keep replaying the story of your wound. You get to tell a new story, one where the pain taught you, but it did not define you. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel light, and others the weight returns without warning. A scent, a song, a place, a date on the calendar can bring it all back. That's okay. That's part of the process. What matters is that you meet those moments with softness, not judgment. That you remember healing doesn't always look like forgetting. It often looks like remembering differently, with less bitterness, with more understanding, with a deeper connection to the strength that carried you through. You begin to recognize that the pain wasn't permanent. It was a passage. Your heart was never meant to be a storage unit for sorrow. It was made to hold love, to feel joy, to expand with peace. But peace cannot fill a heart already overflowing with unresolved hurt. When you choose to let go of the pain, you make room for peace. You don't lose the lesson. You lose the weight. You don't forget what happened. You stop letting it be the lens through which you see everything else. That space, that quiet, that stillness, that is what peace feels like. It does not erase the past. It gently loosens its grip on your soul. Seeking validation from others is a quiet thief of inner peace. It often begins in subtle ways, asking for opinions, wanting to be liked, needing someone to affirm your choices. But over time it becomes a habit, then a dependency. You start to measure your worth by the responses you receive. Your smile becomes shaped by how others perceive it. Your words are filtered to please. Your silence is filled with waiting, waiting for applause, for approval, for someone to say you're enough. The truth is, the more you search for validation outside of yourself, the more disconnected you become from your own voice. You begin to live as a reflection of what others expect, not as the truth of who you are. This need for external approval is often rooted in early experiences, times when love was conditional, when your value was tied to achievement or behavior. Perhaps you learned that only when you excelled were you praised, or only when you were agreeable were you accepted. These early patterns carve deep grooves into the psyche, training you to look outward for inner security. You begin to fear rejection, not just as a response, but as a judgment on your existence. And so you hustle for worthiness, performing roles you never chose, wearing masks that feel heavy, all in the hope that someone else's nod will give you the permission to rest in yourself. The danger lies in how easily this behavior becomes your identity. You confuse being liked with being loved. You mistake attention for affection. You measure your progress not by your own standards, but by how others react. And every time their reaction falls short, so does your self-worth. Peace cannot grow in a soil that's constantly being disturbed by other people's expectations. When your sense of self is tied to their opinions, your confidence becomes fragile. A single word can shatter it. A silence can unravel it. A comparison can erase it. You live in a constant state of emotional surveillance, scanning faces, voices, likes, and follows for clues that you're acceptable. This pattern of needing validation drains your creative power. You begin to shape your life not around purpose, but around approval. Decisions become delays because you're waiting to make sure they'll be well received. Dreams are filtered through the lens of will this impress them, instead of does this align with me. You abandon your instincts, ignore your inner guidance, silence your own wisdom. The cost is not only your peace, it is your authenticity. And without authenticity, there is no true fulfillment. There is only the illusion of happiness, a performance of contentment that never reaches the soul. Relationships become strained when you rely on them for validation. You may cling too tightly, fear being alone, tolerate disrespect, or become overly sensitive to critique. You place others in the position of emotional gatekeepers, giving them the power to determine how you feel about yourself. This not only creates imbalance, it creates resentment. No one is meant to carry the weight of your worthiness. And when they inevitably fall short, you feel betrayed, not realizing you handed them a role they were never meant to fill. True connection flourishes when you bring your full self, not your pleasing self, not your perfect self, but your honest self. And that honesty is impossible when you're constantly editing who you are to earn someone else's affirmation. The culture around us often feeds this need for validation. Social media especially turns life into a stage where every post invites judgment, every image becomes a performance. The algorithms reward visibility, not vulnerability. And so you begin to curate instead of connect. You measure moments by how shareable they are, how many likes they get, how many comments they inspire. But this kind of visibility is not intimacy. It is not belonging. It is often a simulation of connection that leaves you feeling more isolated than ever. You can be admired by thousands and still feel unseen, still feel unknown, because no one has witnessed the real you, only the version you've created for approval. When you seek validation, you place your peace in someone else's hands. You allow their mood, their opinion, their acceptance or rejection to become the weather of your soul. One compliment can lift you. One criticism can crush you. You become reactive, not grounded. Your confidence rises and falls like a tide, dictated by forces beyond your control. But your value is not a democracy. It does not increase with applause or decrease with silence. It is inherent, immutable, constant. Learning to believe this is the path to peace. It requires turning inward, listening deeply, becoming still enough to hear the quiet voice within, the one that has always known your worth. Letting go of the need for validation is not about becoming indifferent or arrogant. It's about reclaiming your self-authority. It's about knowing that your worth does not depend on being chosen, noticed, praised, or preferred. It is choosing to stand firmly in your truth, even when it's misunderstood. It's speaking from your heart, even when your voice trembles. It's showing up as yourself, not because you know it will be accepted, but because you know it is real. That kind of living creates a foundation for peace, so deep that no rejection can shake it, no judgment can uproot it, no silence can diminish it. Peace comes when you no longer beg for someone to see your light, because you've already seen it yourself. When you no longer shrink to be palatable, when you no longer chase after recognition, when you no longer lose sleep over someone else's indifference. That is not arrogance, it is liberation. It is the gentle, quiet confidence of a soul that knows it is already whole. Peace does not arrive in a thunderclap or through dramatic transformation. It comes softly, steadily, when you choose day by day, moment by moment, to release what was never yours to carry. When you stop chasing validation, when you put down the weight of old pain, when you surrender the illusion of control, when you turn your gaze inward instead of outward, you create space within yourself for stillness to grow. A peaceful life is not the absence of challenges, but the presence of clarity. It is the decision to protect your energy, to let go with grace, to walk away from what unsettles your soul, and to return home to the quiet wisdom that has always lived within you. In letting go of what disturbs your spirit, you open the door to the sacred, unshakable truth. You were born to live in peace, not perform for it.